Close of play of the second day of the second test between England and New Zealand at Edgbaston sees New Zealand closing on 229 for 3. That means they're 74 runs behind England's 303. They added 45 for the loss of their last 3 wickets this morning. The majority added by Mark Wood, actually. He played brilliantly. It was a really refreshing innings. He made 41 and a partnership of 30 with Lawrence before Wood was bowled by Henry. Lawrence finished on 81 not out, Broad a duck, and Anderson was the last man out, bowled by Trent Boult, who finished with 4 for 85, Matt Henry 3 for 78, Neil Wagner 1 for 68, and Ajaz Patel 2 for 34. A little ominous when you consider how that ball just appears to be spinning a little bit more out of the rough predominantly at the moment rather than off the actual pitch itself. So in go New Zealand, and the openers put on 15 together before Stuart Broad had Latham LBW for 6, absolutely plump, hitting the middle stump. Then a couple of incidents. First of all, Conway edged Broad to Crawley at third slip. Did it carry or did it not? Stuart Broad was convinced that it had done. The umpires on the middle gave the soft signal of not out, which infuriated Broad. He really was very cross about that. It meant, of course, that the third umpire had to look for a reason for that to be definitely overturned. We looked at the replay, and I think it's pretty split up here, if I'm honest. I was with Jeremy Coney at the time. I think he thought it had bounced just in front. There were others around who thought that it did carry. But anyway, the third umpire looked at the video and decided that it would be not out. So again, Broad was rather angry about this, remonstrating with the umpires. Conway went on to make 80. Meanwhile, at the other end, Young was dropped by Root on 7 off Ollie Stone, and he, as we know, went through to bat out virtually the rest of the day. He was out to the last ball and was caught by Pope at short leg off Lawrence for 82. Lawrence got unusual action. It's quite fun, actually. It's nice to see batsmen who turn their arms over. It's an ungainly action, as I said, an enormous baggy sweater, but he just got that ball to just grip a little bit. That'll be something that England might just be aware of later on in the game. Meanwhile, Ross Taylor weathered a tremendous storm from Stuart Broad. They changed the ball, and this one swung around much more than the first one, and he ended up on 46 not out. So 229 for 3, 74 runs behind. We'll keep an eye. I think Ellie's with John Lewis, actually, England's bowling coach down there, but at the moment 1 or 2 communication issues, I think. But can we go there now? No, we can't. We'll go there later. So there we are. It's fun all this, isn't it? Where are we going to start? Michael, let's start with you. Well, they needed that wicket, didn't they?
Yeah, bonus, a real bonus, because I thought Will Young played great. I thought he had a bit of fortune. Joe Root will be in that dressing room, probably thanking Dan Lawrence because it's costing them quite a few runs. Yeah, a real bonus wicket for England. But I thought New Zealand today were excellent. I thought they kind of showed England in a way how to bat at test match level, that you have to ebb and flow. There was times where the ball was moving around, you felt that Conway and Will Young just hung in there, played for their off stump, left the ball well, didn't play any expansive drives. When the ball wasn't swinging, they took that drive on. When England replaced that ball and Broad bowled an incredible spell and it started to zip again, New Zealand went back into the shell and thought it's not the time to be playing the drive. So from test match batting and the way that you need to play at this level, I thought New Zealand just played today brilliantly. There wasn't a great deal there other than that period where that ball was changed, and that spell from Anderson and Broad was absolutely terrific.
I think we can now join Eleanor down there with John Lewis. Ellie,
look, let's just start with the positives then. That spell from Broad and Anderson with the replacement ball that the guys have just been talking about. That was the one bright spot in the day, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, Broadie picked his knees up, and you could see the quality of what he was doing. He produced a fantastic spell there with Jimmy supporting him at the other end. Sometimes you get a ball that doesn't move that much, and the first one today didn't do too much at all, and it looked a really good pitch, and New Zealand, fair play to them, played very well.
What about the catch that wasn't the Zach Crawley catch?
Well, I think that's one of the great things about sport. It'll always divide opinion. You'll see every Saturday afternoon on a football pitch that the referee will be make a decision one way, and one side will think one thing and one side will think another. And it's the way sport goes, and that decision didn't go away.
How was Stuart about it afterwards?
Oh yeah, he's pretty grumpy, as you can see on the field, but he's a competitor. He's a real competitor, as is Jimmy and all the rest of the guys, and they always want things to go their way.
Things obviously didn't go your way later on in the day. And actually Dan Lawrence's wicket right at the end obviously was a little bit of a bright spot, but would you go back now and pick a spinner? Would you have had Jack Leach in the side?
Well, that's not my job to pick the team. My job is to prepare all the bowlers to get the best out of what they can do. That's what I do. I just try and prepare the bowlers as best I can and let the guys pick the side. And we feel that we pick the best side to take 20 wickets on this pitch.
So what's the plan then for tomorrow, do you think?
Let's go and we've got the new ball first thing in the morning. You see Test cricket change very fast. You don't know what the conditions will be like tomorrow. I thought yesterday felt like a really swingy day, and today was a little bit breezier and not quite as muggy, so the ball didn't swing around as much. And tomorrow we've got to come out and do it again. It's Test cricket. It's hard work, and we appreciate that. And we'll come out and try and knock the New Zealanders over.
I'm asking you lots of benefit of hindsight questions, aren't I? But actually, with the benefit of hindsight, might it have been better to lose the toss and bowl first?
It looked a really good pitch. We'd want to get out there and score more runs than we did, to be honest. And today showed the New Zealanders showed us how to bat on that pitch. And I think looking forward, we've got a really young side, and you have to appreciate that young players will make mistakes, and we have to be really patient with those guys.
Tomorrow's another day. John, thank you very much indeed. John Lewis, England's bowling coach, joining us live on Test Match Special. Jonathan.
Is that a Will Young song? I think or not, I don't know.
No, I don't think it is a Will Young song. I think it's yet another rendition of Please Don't Take Me Home.
Yeah, okay, it sounded rather like it for a moment. Anyway, well, there we go. Thank you. He's very honest, wasn't he? I mean, what can you say about these? That is a talking point, that catch. There'll be some who think it was out, Cookie, I don't know what you thought, but some will think it was out and some will think it didn't quite carry it. It's just... Sometimes those catches are almost impossible to tell.
Yeah, I think he caught it. The camera is such a tough... It doesn't, for whatever reason, the technology, I know whatever it falls sight or whatever everyone bangs on about, it carried. And was there a bit of doubt? Yes, so that left the umpire could only do the on-field decision. What will be interesting to hear from the on-field umpires is why they gave it not out. Why they must have thought they saw it bounce.
Yes.
But do you know what I mean? That's where it becomes quite hard, because technology is always going to make it look worse. You've seen catches from one angle be 2 inches off the ground, but from a slightly higher angle looking down it looks a lot closer than it was. I think it carried. You can almost tell the reaction of the player. I know you shouldn't do that, but he was so confident. There was no kind of sometimes when you get on the half volley you pick your hands up as if a bit like starting the lawnmower, but he kind of caught it. There was no doubt in his mind or anyone else around him that he didn't carry.
It's interesting, the whole soft signal thing. Virat Kohli's on it at the moment, isn't he? And that they just don't want a soft signal. He wants either this is to review it and the umpire to have a look at all technology. But the reason it was brought in was to get the view of the umpires in the middle, given that usually they've got a pretty good view of it, and they were going through a phase where they weren't making any of the decisions. So, I mean, the ones out in the middle, I suppose, gave it not out soft signal because they thought it had bounced. Yeah,
I thought he caught it. I thought it bounces into his fingers on his right hand and goes into his left hand. I would personally bring in a soft signal where the umpires can say they're not sure.
Yeah.
I know a lot of umpires may take that option all the time, but I'd just rather the replays take over it on that occasion. The problem on this kind of wicket and the team that England have picked is that everything had to go their way. So that catch had to go their way. Joe Root had to take that opportunity. It's not doing a great deal. There was spells where the ball just did enough. And when the ball was doing just enough, you felt that England had to get 3 or 4 quick wickets. This is what they're going to come up against in Australia. On these kind of wickets where the ball's not hooping all over the place, they're going to have to find ways of creating angles or opportunities, because the ball will not hoop and it's not going to seam. So that's why, in my opinion, they needed a spinner. We're not just talking in hindsight. England need a spinner. They need a variation. On these kind of pitches that are slow, there's just a little bit there when the times are right and the clouds come in and the ball's right, but it's only for 15, 20 overs. So then you do need that variation of a spinner, a frontline spinner, a particular spinner in Jack Leach, who I felt was one of the talking points of the win. I thought he kind of went from being, is he the number one spinner, to definitely being England's number one spinner. So I do think they've missed a trick, and when you miss a trick, you're always playing a little bit catch-up when you don't bat as well as they possibly could. If they'd got 400, 450, well, we might have been talking about a different proposition, but they haven't. And New Zealand today have gone out and batted in a way that you have to say is the way to bat in Test match cricket. Ultimate respect for every aspect of the situation, and that's exactly what they did today.
Yeah, it's the way you'd have played, Alistair. Really, that's sort of just set your stall out to bat. There's no pressure on time. Just get up, draw level, and then move on tomorrow. It's the way the game's looking.
It is, and I thought the way New Zealand reacted to every situation, and that when it did swing, they were. It was quite strange because actually the one wicket England did get was with the worst ball that Stuart Broad bowled. It was a leg stump half volley where Conway just hit it straight down at deep backward square leg's throat. But they played and missed, but they played the ball so late. That's what I really liked about this New Zealand side. They played the ball late and straight. Everyone's so far on. When he does do a little bit, if you're doing that, you're giving yourself the best chance, and that's what's really impressed me with this side. They've shown the resilience of them. It was tough to bat, but they found a way. Then it got easier, and then they cashed in. When it swung again, they held them back, and then towards the end they just milked it. And it was a shame from the New Zealand point of view that they got a bit of a soft one at the end. But it's evenly poised, because New Zealand do have a long tail.
Yes.
England do have a new ball in the morning, and if they can keep that lead down to 40-50, then England got a chance.
Yeah, with all the technology and all the resources and everything else, those low catches still haven't yet been sorted out, have they? There's always that debate and that question, that controversy about them.
Yeah, and the problem is that the catch could be anywhere around the whole on the whole ground. So it's not just the keeper's catch where you could say, "Oh, we'll have the cameras on it." So it's very hard to do. I like umpire's call because it keeps. You're talking about Virat Kohli. He doesn't like umpire's call. Should be out or not out. I like the umpire's call because it keeps the human element of the game, and it really does make a difference. And sometimes it goes with you, sometimes it doesn't go with you. LBW calls, but I like that.
Yes.
But on that one there, there is something because they're so. Every time there's a low catch, it looks debatable. Even if it's a really clean catch, and we're having this debate over and over again, and there must be something that they can do to change it.
I like the fact that we can still debate these things. There is still some areas of grey out there that don't. It's not always completely nailed down, and not everything is clear, black and white, and computers are ruling everything. Jeremy, Mark, you've got a new microphone.
I've got a new mic, yeah.
You look like you're about to sort of break into song.
I do. I could have both mics, couldn't I, at the moment? But yeah, I'm a bit with you, actually, Eggers, on that one. I don't mind to have some discussion about these kinds of things. Everyone, of course, is wanting a real answer to it. And yet, unfortunately, while we all suspect as former players that was probably held, you always think as a slipper, those ones that you sweep slightly, that you've held them. But at the same time, if you're standing beside that slipper, you think, oh, did he catch that? Was it that clear? Was it that clean? And was it touching between the fingers and so on? Because if it is, then it's not out.
Yes.
And so, I think he probably caught it. But there was enough doubt about it. Certainly the two umps out there who have been at lots of games, they were unsure. And then you go to a two-dimensional thing, trying to represent a three-dimensional thing, and we know the problems.
Yep.
Thank heavens it wasn't magnified, because that makes it look worse, doesn't it?
It makes it absolutely impossible.
Yeah, it does.
Mark Wood, I've got to wear his batting, actually. I was not his bowling for a change. But that was a terrific innings this morning. I mean, England, we know, are a bit undercooked at 303 all out, but what valuable runs from a real character.
Yeah, England would have taken 300 this morning, but they would have thought most of those runs would have come off Dan Lawrence's bat. And actually, Mark Wood, just played some beautiful shots. They weren't long. I remember that one, Henry bounced him, and he kind of just leant back, just guided over gully. He had all the time in the world, followed by a pull shot in front of square. But you're kind of waiting for a bit of a death rattle when he as a lower order. But I'm not going to call him a tail ender. He's better than the tail ender. But when they get giddy, don't they? When they hit a few or four or five fours, they're in, and every ball must go for four. And that drive, he just eyes lit up again. But he played really well, and he bowled okay as well. Actually, his figures don't give him much credit for it, but I thought he bowled with good heart and gusto. We know that with good skills. Towards the end, I couldn't work out whether it was reversing. I didn't quite understand England's plan or how they were trying to get him out with the field. Certainly to Taylor, and massive gaps on the leg side and still firing it in and then had a leg slip to Young. That looked a little bit confused at the end of the day, but no, I thought he had a good day.
Yeah, it's always tricky with two fast bowlers in his side. We've got quite a strong wind blowing as well to sort out who's going to bowl where from which end and so on. Jeremy, let's talk about New Zealand's batting, can we? Because, we had Conway in the last Test match with his double 100. He made another 80 today. Will Young, his third Test match, 82, just falling there at the end. I mean, he'll be really disappointed that he got out like that. But again, it showed a lot of promise.
Yeah, he was circumspect to start, wasn't he? Took his time and improved as the more time that I think it's one of those surfaces. I don't think you're going to be able to go out and play freely and with gay abandon. You're going to have to work hard. It's a slowish surface. The catches aren't carrying sometimes, and so. There's no real pace there for the bowlers either, for your Stone and for Wood. I mean, they're trying very hard, I'm sure, but they're not really flying through, is it? You couldn't ever say that. So it's taking time for batsmen to get in and have to play their innings sedately at times. The movement in the air means you've got to be watchful, and then when it does get straight, you can knock it around. But it's not as if batting's going to be something where you can just grab the bowling by the scruff of the neck. I don't think it's going to be one of those surfaces, nor was it at Lord's, was it?
No.
For different reasons. So, yeah, I think excellent from Will Young. We haven't seen a lot of him. And yet I thought he looked quite serene towards the end of his innings, standing up, body shape over the ball, nice drives, pull strokes and so on. So I think that's a very good sign. He's the heir apparent for Ross Taylor.
Yeah.
As one ends, one's about to beginning. So that's great.